Okay, good day, colleagues. It's great to meet you once again, uh, and I welcome you to another wonderful day of academic exploration. I remember that yesterday we stopped at a discussion on national and international culture, and we have been able to also distinguish between national and international culture. And of course, the fact that when an organization is moving to an international culture, there is also a need for the organization to study what is prevailing in the international culture so that they can actually be able to adapt to the new environment, in terms of making sure that their own culture is a kind of either revised to meet the cultural environment that they want to venture into or operate. So every organization, it is very, very important that they understand what is prevailing within the international environment. Because, of course, we are now in a global environment or a global village where decisions are not only based on national consideration, but now decisions are based on international consideration. So that is why we need to study different culture, different environmental culture, or different culture of different countries that we intend to venture into as far as business is concerned. Is that clear? Great. So today we will just move one step further in terms of our discussion, rounding up the topic of organizational culture. Today we'll be dealing with a generic model of cultural categorization as initiated by Lewis. Lewis has been able, or Lewis characterized culture into three different culture. The first one, he says, in terms of culture, we can distinguish culture between linear active people, and of course, the second culture there he called multi-active people, the way they behave, which is, of course, their cultural patterns. And of course, the third one there, he said reactive people in terms of his own cultural categorization. Now, let us see who are the linear active people. According to Lewis, linear active people, while reflecting their cultural dimensions, tend to be task oriented. They are very much task oriented. They focus on their work. Their work ethics is impeccable. Can you see? So it is task oriented. They are highly organized. And of course, those who are task oriented also like to be very much organized. They prefer doing one thing at a time. Can you see? They prefer doing one thing at a time. They don't want to touch so many things. They are parallel in their views, so they want to be focused. Can you see? They prefer doing one thing at a time. They adhere to logic. Can you see? They are logical. They don't believe much on intuition, or anything can be. They believe in logic. Can you see? They believe in logic. They believe in calculation. They believe in rational approach. Can you see? And they have faith in rules. They also believe in rules, that people must stick to rules and regulation within that particular organization or within a country, as the case may be. And of course, they honor written contract. These people believe in what is written. Can you see? Not just a psychological contract, which is not written, but a contract, a formal contract that is written. That is to say, if they are entering into employment, they would prefer certainly a written contract. Can you see? Then, in terms of cultural categorization, the second one there is multi-active people. Multi-active people tend to be emotional. Multi-active. They tend to be emotional. They are loquacious, very, very loquacious. I mean, they are talkatives, you know. And they are impulsive, very, very impulsive, you know, multi-anxious people. And they attach great importance to family, can you see? And relationship. They attach much importance to family, and of course, they believe in relationship. That when we work, everything should not just be focused on work, tax, but there should also be relationship within our work environment. That is, of course, multi-active people. And they have limited respect for authority. Multi-active people have limited respect for authority. Of course, why? Because they are not very strict oriented like the linear active people. And of course, they often procrastinate. Can you see? Because there is no fear in terms of how they have their own time to do their work. They have their own time to execute their operations. So, as such, sometimes they procrastinate. And at times also, they are flexible in approach. Can you see? So, those are majorly the multi-active people. Now, the last one there is, of course, the reactive people. The reactive people, what is actually their characteristics? Reactive people rarely initiate action. Reactive, that is why they are reactive. They rarely initiate action or discussion, but they listen and show respect. They listen to people and show respect. They are majorly, or many of them are introverts, and of course, adept. They are skillful also at non-verbal communication. This kind of people, because they are quiet, they are also skillful at non-verbal communication. So they can communicate in sign language. They can communicate in terms of nodding their heads, you know, but they listen very carefully. So they are not impulsive. They are not loquacious. They are not, you know, but they are just listening. So these are the three cultural categorization according to Lewins. Is that clear? Thank you. Then we'll come to another important topic. We'll continue with that topic in our next discussion because with regard with the discussion on just a minute, with discussion on the generic model of cultural categorization by Lewis, until we come to an end. To the topic of culture. Can you see? We'll come to the end of the topic of culture, organizational culture. So in our next discussion, I want to start a new discussion on that in our just after some few minutes break, which will be organizational climate. Can you see? Organizational climate. You know that sometimes people confuse organizational culture and climate. Can you see? But they are two different things within organization. So we'll talk about that in our next discussion. Have a wonderful moment, and I wish you all the best as you take some break. Thank you very much.